Sean Hannity has every right to be upset with CBS News and Ted Koppel for their selective editing in which the full scope of Sean's remarks were deleted. The worst part is, Ted was doing a segment on fake news and selective editing and how it is disastrous for America, especially when people want to hear and see real news. So let's listen to Sean Hannity give his opinion of this situation in which he was able to air on his television show tonight.
Now, beyond this interview being a total waste of my time, it is a flagrant example of what I call edited fake news. Now, remember, CBS News is the former home of Dan Rather. Remember, he was forced to resign after reporting an inflammatory fake news story about President George W. Bush. Rather used fake documents to bolster his story. Now, CBS News is also the former home of Sharyl Attkisson. Remember, she there was marginalized at CBS and stonewalled, and they wouldn't show a lot of our investigative journalism into President Obama as his administration. Is that agenda-driven? And now they produce a package taking shots at me, all while prominently displaying their dishonesty, their bias, and total hypocrisy here for every viewer to see. Now, Ted's interview with me, it wasn't about substance. It wasn't about getting my real opinion. Now, the story was written long before he walked into this studio here at Fox. I was just used as a prop to advance his narrative, which is why only 1 minute and 10 seconds out of the 45 to 50 minutes was actually used. In other words, it was 1 minute, and that's the 1 minute that fit into their narrative. That is edited fake news. By the way, other networks, they play the same game, and they have for many years. And now it's time to expose this for what it really is, and I have the ability to fight back. Cheap shot attacks in the name of, quote, journalism, all to advance their biased agenda. Now, what Ted was really asking is this: our opinion shows bad for America. He thinks they are. Meanwhile, Ted was giving his opinion. He considers himself an impartial journalist, yet in what CBS News was airing, he's doing exactly what he said is bad for America. Now, right here on this show, on Hannity, I express my opinion because I am a talk show host, an advocacy journalist, if you will. Ted Koppel, he thinks he's down the middle, fair and balanced, a real journalist. Ted, you show in this clip you are not a journalist. You're very hypocritical here. Now, have you ever said, for example, you work for CBS, Dan Rather worked for CBS? Ted, did you ever say that George W. Bush, the attack by Dan Rather, was bad for America? Did you ever say CBS, when they spiked Sharyl Attkisson's story, that that's bad for America? Did you ever wonder if the stories were spiked because the head of CBS News and that division, David Rhodes, happens to be the brother of Ben Rhodes, the high-ranking official for then-President Obama? Is that a conflict of interest? Now, I'm willing to look at my body of work and compare it with CBS News any day of the week.
That pretty much sums up the whole situation, doesn't it? The mainstream media doing a segment on fake news, and the segment they air is actually fake news. This is why the people of America no longer trust the networks anymore.
Many of them. I'm making this presentation directly to the American people with the media present, which is an honor to have you this morning, because many of our nation's reporters and folks will not tell you the truth and will not treat the wonderful people of our country with the respect that they deserve. And I hope going forward we can be a little bit different and maybe get along a little bit better if that's possible. Maybe it's not, and that's okay too. Unfortunately, much of the media in Washington, D.C., along with New York, Los Angeles in particular, speaks not for the people, but for the special interests and for those profiting off a very, very obviously broken system. The press has become so dishonest that if we don't talk about it, we are doing a tremendous disservice to the American people. Tremendous disservice. We have to talk about it to find out what's going on, because the press honestly is out of control. The level of dishonesty is out of control.